Let's move on now to our chart of the day. A lot of news headlines swirling around Gap after it not only slashed its first quarter sales guidance, but announced that the CEO of the Old Navy division is going to depart this week. And that's so significant because of this chart that we're showing you. Net sales for Gap in the fiscal year 2021, over half of all sales in all brands were attributable to Old Navy. Akiko.
It is a brutal day for the stock. Can we show the chart here? Because we're seeing Gap shares hitting a new low today in the session, down roughly 18%. And Brian, I'm thinking back to the conversation, what was it, a year, 2 years ago, about, the success of Old Navy relative to the rest of the brand. But the reality is Gap overall has really been struggling. It's the logistics issues that stem from the supply chain, obviously inflation. Our consumer is going to back off from spending as a result. And I was looking at that chart thinking, when was the last time you stepped into an Old Navy or a Gap?
Well, for what it's worth, there are a lot of Old Navy areas in Brooklyn where I'm usually hanging out at, but I don't see a lot of Gap locations anywhere. There was one outside of our office in New York along Broadway that closed. So the Gap brand itself obviously shrinking. I think they were trying to lean on Kanye West to hopefully bring sales back to that flagship brand, which at one point in time, right, San Francisco, isn't that the home of, everyone was wearing Gap at some point in the 90s. But, this is just a fading of these brands, and I personally haven't bought anything from Old Navy, although I do appreciate their simple stuff. I think it's the closest American brand to like Uniqlo at its prime.
I would say, Gap is the closest to Uniqlo, but I'm surprised in that chart that Athleta is not more of...
I have no idea how to say it either.
I know. I think it's Athleta, and I shop there. That's actually the one Gap brand that I shop at. I find their clothes consistently good, especially for things like yoga and Pilates. So I'm surprised it's still at 9% because they've been able to bring on some pretty big brand name ambassadors, athletes like Allison Felix, and they've really undergone a shift in their branding. And I think especially women have really responded to that. Yeah,
I'll stick with my used Lululemon for the time being.
That's another conversation. By the way, Athleta also lets you try out the clothes, which I appreciate. You can do a workout in it, and if it just doesn't fit right, I don't think so. Because it is about they've really leaned in on the women, not really limiting it to specific sizes. They brought on all, it's a good brand. As you can see, I like to shop there.
If they do, thank you. If I do drop anything, they do drop anything on the men's side, I'll go check it out. But coming up